we're going to obviously get to where you are today with Magarac Ventures and discuss your time in the NFL. But let's go back to your college days in Ohio State when you obviously knew you were super passionate about football. But I just want to extract some skills, some daily routines that you developed while you were in college that you can still confidently say you still use today.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, it was a couple things. One was observation. I came in, a little underrated. I was one of the top players in Ohio, one of the top players in the Midwest. But, we had some really fantastic recruits that came in that were highly touted, had a bunch of accolades, and were really, really, really great athletes. And I realized that, one, again, observation, I realized that I wasn't the best athlete, but I didn't let that intimidate me. I think it was more or less being confident in my skills, being confident in being confident in my skills and my abilities, not letting, peer pressure or naysayers really dictate my effort and my energy. I was really good at taking what we learned from the classroom, from the meeting room to the field, and in being able to make adjustments on the fly. So a lot of players have a hard time doing that really their freshman year, because it's new, they're young, the defenses are a little bit more complex than what it was in high school. You're pretty much playing at a big time school because you had athletic ability, and they believe that they can groom you into being a smarter player, right? A more intelligent and aware player. But I really came in and said, that's my strength. My strength is my intelligence. My strength is my awareness, and being able to take all these data points that exist and synthesize it for the goals, right? And what I want to achieve. May not be the most athletic, may not be the strongest, may not be the fastest, but if I can execute based on the data and information that I have and synthesize that, it's going to get me ahead of everybody. And I realized that quick, especially the peers and, people in my freshman class, we played the same position. And even some upperclassmen, right, that just were really, really good. I realized that, I can learn from their mistakes. And that's something that I did. So the coach never had to tell me twice. He never really had to tell me because, I learned from other people and would go into practice and into the games and execute. Now, don't get me wrong, I was a little intimidated like everybody else would be. At times my confidence was a little low, just because it's new, it's different. You're going against, young men that are, maybe double or triple your size, and it's, how do you build that confidence, and what do you do to tap into your inner champion to face the adversity and persevere through the tough times? And that's something I did very early on in my career, and just build on that. I only had 1 year to start in college. That's it. And I ended up getting drafted, in a fourth round. I was slated between the second and fourth round, but I only started my senior year. I was behind a 3-time All-American, a person who got drafted second round in the NFL. We're still good friends to this day, 20 some years later, 20 years later. And I learned a lot from him, but I knew when my number was called, when it was time for me to go into the game, I had to be ready. I had to prepare as a starter. I had to think of myself as a starter, even though I knew I was behind someone who was a great, great, great football player. And, I ended up becoming All-American my senior year. So it's like all these different challenges and pressure points that really molded me, where I had to really tap into my faith, tap into my intellect, tap into my skill, and build confidence over the years. And it all prepared me for the NFL, but also prepared me for where I am today as a VC. And I can tell some really distinct stories too, if you like.
Of course.
I'm not, no shame, man. I give you the hardcore reality. If you want, I can dig into it.
No, I would like to. I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast. We want to be able to share what people haven't heard yet.
All right.
Something that really comes to mind just through hearing that story, and of course, I want you to continue to elaborate on it, is, just focus on what you can control. You've built a strong brand through your playing career, which is, a player that had high IQ on the field, and something that really helped shape, the culture of the overall team. And instead of trying to do too much, you went into the situation and said, okay, again, like this is my strong suit. I know I have intelligence here. I know I have these skills. I think we see a lot of not just athletes, but a lot of different people in the different industries trying to juggle too much because they're comparing themselves to other people, and they want to be able to do everything. But instead, I think you got to really focus on what you can't control. So I love that moment.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's what it's all about is control what you can. I mean, that's your attitude, that's your effort, that's your God-given skills that you have, and learn how to build on those. But then also understand like where are you weak, where are you fragile, where can you get better, where are opportunities to get better. And I
Mhm.
think it's a balance of doing both, and understanding how to allocate your time and manage your time to do both. And some quick like points on that is, you know, one thing you do is just take an inventory, like write down, and ask other people, where do you think my strengths are? What do you think I'm really good at? What compliments have you received? And then say, well, what is the feedback? Maybe a mentor or my boss or even my peer, like someone I'm close to, can say I can be a better listener. And then write down 3 practical ways to improve that. Optimize it and maybe increase it by X amount of percentage points. And then you say, well, what does that look like? What does the answer or solution really looks like in my life? Maybe it's personal, maybe it's physical, maybe it's mental, maybe it's intellectual. And you just go about setting like small milestones for yourself that you can go and accomplish and build confidence in. And that's exactly what I did. I wasn't as formatted as that back when I was 18, 19 years old, but I was able to identify 2 areas of weakness. I needed to gain weight. I needed to get stronger so I can go up against 225-pound running backs. Like I couldn't be 175 pounds and doing it. It just the physics, it just didn't match up.
Yeah.
So I had to go get stronger and create more explosiveness. So I said, well, where do I want my squat to be? Where do I want my sustaining squat to be? So I know I can take on resistance, and like how much faster or quicker do I need to be to get to that point? And those are things I can measure, and also understand over time I can measure. And I knew it would take a journey, but I had to make leaps and bounds every year. And I knew I had to take steps to get there. So that's just one way to do it, is like I didn't take inventory of yourself, audit, if you will, and then just 3 milestones, 3 points of emphasis that you believe will help you increase to that next milestone and that next level.
I love the word you use, inventory, because, I think a lot of times people say, I want to be faster, or I want to become, smarter, or I want to do these things. But what are the actual key results that you're going to do to get there? So I
Yeah.
love you add numbers to that. So instead of just saying, I want to be able to go up against, these running backs, you actually said, okay, I need to gain this amount of weight in order to do that, which means I have to be lifting this. I need to be eating this much. I think that doesn't just have to be for sports. That can be in any area of your life. Instead of just giving these broad statements like, I want to do this, we all want to do amazing things, but how are you going to do that? Like find ways to quantify it. So I really think that that's a powerful statement as well.
Yeah, and I think being direct, right? It's, don't say if we do this or should we or would we. Those are like ambiguous like words, and it leaves it up for chance. If you say we will do it, this is how we're going to do it. Now you're accountable, right? You psychologically you're accountable. You're putting it out there, and other people can hold you to that. If you're saying, we should, we should increase this by this much, there's a chance that it may not happen. Like you're not really striving for it. You're not really giving your best effort and what you can to execute that. So those are just kind of things, words, the way you use your words, and is I think it's a directive of where your heart and your passion and your intent will lie.
Of course. So now let's pivot to your career in the NFL. As you mentioned, you were drafted in 2004 by the Buccaneers. You had opportunities to play with that team, the Cowboys, and of course the Steelers, your team, where you served as the team co-captain, member of the 2010 AFC Championship team. And I believe you ended up having a 10-plus career, 11 years, if I'm not mistaken. 12 years. That's a huge accomplishment. I mean, because that's much higher than the average, playing career of an individual in the NFL. So obviously we can't get 12 years of advice and knowledge in our less than 30-minute interview, but let's kind of break some things down. What were some challenges that you were faced with during that career? And, after only playing that or starting 1 year in college, how were you able to accomplish so much in the NFL?
You know, it's all mental. It's all above the neck. Once you realize that you're talented and you have athletic ability in the league, it's about positioning your mind on what you want to accomplish and really attacking that every day, in everything that you do. It's a complete sacrifice. We're not normal. We live in a bubble. We don't live a civilian life, and you have to be okay with that.
Mhm.
And it's just not a normal lifestyle, and it's our job. You have to understand, you have to perform, right? It's a high performance, highly competitive environment every single day, and it's fun, right? Because we've been doing it. We playing the kids game. Like, don't never forget that. And I think for me, I really struggled um understanding that day one. I didn't go reach out to people who had done it at a high level, meaning high level Hall of Fame level, to say, teach me the path, show me like the steps I should take and the mental model I should have to really, really, really be successful at this level. And I think that costs you years, that costs you money, that costs you even a perspective that you could have early on in your career. And I think I learned that when I got injured, and I didn't get injured until the third year of my career. I had a very, very highly impactful first 2 years after getting drafted
Mhm.
of my career. And in my third year, I got injured. I had a serious, serious ankle injury, and I could not. I could barely walk, barely run. I was still trying to play. It was my first year starting full time. It was a potential contract extension year.
Wow.
My second year, I only started 8 games, and I was, second on the team in interceptions. I only started 8 games. I had a touchdown. I was playing really, really well. Those statistics are really high for only starting 8 games and being a rotational player. So my third year, I ended up getting hurt. I was having a really good year and ended up getting hurt, and I didn't perform well. And so now the next year, my fourth year, which is big money year, they draft two positions, and they draft two guys in my position, right? They draft a second rounder and they draft a fourth rounder. So here I am in my fourth year, and I mean they're trying to replace me, like
Wow.
legit. That's a lot of money being invested in one position. Two guys being drafted, and that's the first time I hit the reality button of you haven't really been on top of your game the way you need to. You've been distracted, and you weren't as focused, and I had to recalibrate. And I really wanted to end my career because the pressure was so immense, and I said, this isn't football. This is not what. I was so uncomfortable and so agitated every day. I didn't enjoy it, and I had just had to recalibrate my mind and say, I can't let the circumstances around me dictate who I am. I'm better than that. I have a deeper faith and deeper conviction on who I am and what I want to accomplish. And um, but with that, I had to take a back seat. I lost my starting position because I was focused on everything around me and not focused on my abilities. So I lost what we talked about earlier, that mentality I had in college, because I allowed the circumstances to dictate my effort. So I just recalibrated and realized that I want to have a long career. I want to start focusing on my preparation, start focusing on developing my skills, and not letting the noise, the chatter, the coaches, the general managers, the ownership, all this pressure get to me and dictate my influence. It was a very challenging time, and it was a very, very challenging time. But I just said, man, I got to go execute in whatever position I'm in, whether I'm starting, I'm a backup, or I'm on special teams, where I'm doing all three. Like, this is a privilege, this is an honor. Let's get after it. And that's kind of what I did. And so the next few years, I was like going back and forth between starting and backup, starting and backup. And I just embraced the moment. And every moment I had, I decided to just dig my heels in and say, I got to give my best, no matter where I am, because I I have the ability to create whatever it is, right? I do. I have that ability, and that was my mentality. So I got pushed back behind the eight ball a little bit, um, based on that fourth year situation. But I knew I wanted to play double digits, and that was my focus.
And through that uncertainty, though, I mean, it's really powerful again that you were able to find yourself, understand what was going on inside here. So then you could really see, okay, what's my goal now? It's a goal to have a long-standing career, be able to mentor a lot of other players as well, and help them through the uncertainty. And so I want to dive into that mentorship a little bit. Through your 12-year career, clearly, you weren't the only one faced with challenges and uncertainty, in the NFL. I mean, it's very difficult, of course, to have a normal year. I mean, there are things that are constantly happening in the sport, competitive nature as well. And, I'll even add, not just in the NFL. I mean, we see competitive natures and industries across, the world. I mean, so many challenges that a lot of people are faced with. But, after going through that moment of personal reflection, having to quote unquote bounce back, how did you serve as a mentor to other younger players whom were, once in your position, or even across the board, on the team that were going through similar challenges?
Yeah, you that's the beauty of challenges. That's the beauty of learning about yourself is you get a perspective. And that's why tech and VC resonates with me so much, is because there's a high level of failure. And what you learn from the failure and how you recalibrate from the failure typically and generally can lead to better and bigger outcomes, right? If you can recalibrate on the right path. And so that resonates with me so deeply. And those are the same principles at its basic level that I tried to help and mentor with other athletes, younger athletes. It's like, again, like you said, control what you can control, give your very best effort. You're going to fail, but let's have more wins than failures, right? Like learn very deeply of and very technically what you did wrong and right, and then keep building on that. Because you're gonna get scored a touchdown. You're gonna give up a big play. You're going to give up the game winner. You're going to miss a tackle, right? But can you change that moment the next time, the very next play, or 5 plays later, and come up and make the big play, not miss the tackle, work on your technique? Like, those are the things that make you a pro. Those are the things in the sports realm that really trigger success. And then once you really get it, right, then you figure out how to keep optimizing and keep doing it over and repeatedly, like changing the bar over and over and over and over and over again, and finding new nuanced ways to perform better and perform higher, right? And that comes with experience, that comes with maturity. But you gotta go through those growing pains, right? You gotta go through those tough, hard times. And those are ways I try to really mentor and help people. I always say this: if you weren't meant to be here, you wouldn't be here. You're built for this. And I always say that, like, you are strategically and intentionally in this moment on purpose. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Don't let the time and opportunity pass you by. And I firmly believe that, because if you weren't here, where else would you be? You're here. You got this uniform on. You're in the game. You're in the practice. Like, be here, embrace it, love it, the good and the bad. Because at the end of the day, you want success for yourself, you want success for your family, you want to make a lot of money, you want to do great work in the community.
Mhm.
Be here, like, and just soak it in. And that mentality really helped me embrace everything, so.
Love that. That got me fired up. I'd love to have you on my team if I was in the NFL. That's awesome,
Yeah.
though. So now let's pivot again. Something I'm very excited to discuss with you, of course, is Magarac Ventures, your VC firm. You're a partner and co-founder. Right before we get into there, though, I saw that you also, because you were just a forever learner, you got your Master's of Business Administration from the University of Dayton. And I believe that was wrapped up before starting Magarac, or maybe like a few moments before, but just kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit because there are a lot of 20 somethings currently that are considering going back to school for their master's and above. From your personal experience at the University of Dayton, is that something that you would recommend? And what really went into you wanting to get your master's?
It's something I always wanted to do, and I could have done it years ago. I actually should have done it years ago while I was playing, and that was the biggest thing for me. I did it for me. I didn't do it for anything else. In 2008, through our NFL and NFL Players Association, we had these executive education opportunities, right? Wharton, Stanford, Harvard, Michigan, and Kellogg, right, at Northwestern. And all these universities had different programs, executive education programs for us. And I think like Stanford at the time might have been like entertainment. Harvard was like business and management. Kellogg was high growth entrepreneurship. Notre Dame may have been like more business entertainment as well. But Wharton obviously is just like was finance, I believe. And so at the time, in '08, I said, man, this would be great to do. So I was on Harvard's campus. We were there
Wow.
for like eight to 10 weeks or something like that. We went for like 3 or 4, had a break, came back 3 or 4. And I learned from these great professors. And I was like, this is just amazing. Like, where have I been this whole time? And then I got to go to Kellogg with high growth entrepreneurship. So we learned about startups. We learned about mergers and acquisition. And then we also learned about franchising, right? They're kind of like 3 forms of entrepreneurship, like, if you will. And I was just fascinated about this world that exists around business and people that I just wasn't privy to leading up to that point. And I knew then, with encouragement from the professors, that I wanted to get my business degree. And that was just a glimpse into it. And so once I finished playing, I just said, man, this is something I want to do. Let's do it. And I started it in 2018. And but I would encourage folks to do it for yourself. Go to a highly competitive university where you can build a network in a community. You can also have a great education where you can really tie that into what your passions are. And that's something I liked about UD is, UD may not be like top 10, but they know what they do well is they tie in the passion part of a person into the business side, and what you learn from the education side. So you can learn how to use those tools into something you really, really care about. It's not just, I'm here to just go and make money. It's do well, do good within that framework. And I thought that was really special for me, considering it aligned with my personal values. But if your personal values is, I just want to make money, I want to go to Harvard, or I want to go to Wharton and Stanford, and that's it, then have at it. But do it for a purpose. If you are going to do it, know what you want to get out of it. I think that's important. And take advantage of it from that perspective. But I think it's a business school is in the eye of the beholder or the eye of the student. If you think it's beneficial, do it. But again, purposeful, intentional, and have an outcome on the other side for you.
Yeah, and that's very reminiscent of a lot of things you've said today. I mean, just really go into things with a purpose and know what you want to get out of the situation. So I love that that's just all been connected. So now let's talk about Magarac Venture Partners, or MVP. You guys are an early stage VC firm based in Pittsburgh, and you focus on investing in the Midwest's most extraordinary entrepreneurs. This is a big step, in your career, and just super exciting to see that you are the face of it. You're behind it, and you have such a strong team, and have worked with some extraordinary companies. What has this, part of your journey been like so far? Having Magarac Venture Partners, what have you learned from having this, and looking into the future, what do you really want to do with this?
Yeah, I can't tell you all my secrets, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can I give you some high level.
Little sneak peek.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's it's exciting. I can't say enough about the partners and just where we're going. I think they've been around for a while, and they've invested kind of in like micro locations in the Midwest. Just really primarily Pittsburgh, in some cities in Ohio, and a few in Michigan. Really, really close, really, really micro areas. But it's an opportunity to build on what they've already established. It's an opportunity to expand exponentially, and really, again, the Midwest for this fund I think it's ripe. It's a bunch of great entrepreneurs that are underfunded, under resourced, that we want to just provide that access, and invest in market defining companies. I mean, it's really cool. Like I mentioned in the Meet Our Fund, we have an operational platform where we want to help and support these companies grow, so help and support these entrepreneurs see the world globally, and not just from the Midwest. Like I was talking to a founder the other day, former veteran, like I guess veteran, former military, happy Veterans Day,
Yep.
just grew up in Iowa, and really hadn't seen the world other than the military from a business perspective.
Wow.
And I think those type of, but had a great business, and a scalable business, and still does. I think that company would not get funded if it was, if he said, "Hey, I'm from Iowa, I'm going to Silicon Valley, and I don't have any high technical expertise." They would get kicked out, or they wouldn't get funded. I wouldn't say kicked out, that sounds bad, but they wouldn't get
Yeah.
funded. And I just think, like, to me, this person knows discipline. They've been in the military. They've been grinding. They've been able to persevere. They built a great company with customers. They've been efficient with their capital. Man, and there's so much opportunity in the market they're in. Like, I want to fund somebody like that. Like, so it gives me the opportunity to have this global picture, but then bring it down and then open it back up for founders that haven't seen a lot, and haven't experienced a lot. And I think that's the unique journey that I want to go on without. Not saying that's just the archetype,
Yeah.
but it's an example of, like, the opportunities that we see, and that we want to support founders in.
Of course. And Will, this gives you a wonderful opportunity to inspire more people, as you've been able to do with your NFL career. Just, now more business, tech companies. So love to see what you guys are working on, and just really excited to see the future of Magarac.
Yeah, thank you. This has been great. And anytime you need me, man, I'm here.